Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Turner Hooch reboot, the Mighty Ducks reboot. We'll also be talking about some of the new Marvel stuff that's kind of been rumored and going around, and then we're also going to be talking about some of the things that have been added and what we've been watching on Disney Plus this week. Quick bit of housekeeping before we get any further. Make sure you do go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. We are doing a giveaway for a $50 Amazon gift card. You'll find all the details over there about that one there. You can also subscribe on YouTube and audio platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and also Google Play. So definitely do that if you haven't already done so. Also, just big thank you to our patrons for all of their support. Really makes all of the difference in making sure that the podcast keeps running. You can join us over there from as little as $1 a month. But a big thank you to Andrew, Giuseppe, Julie, and What's on Netflix for all of your support in making sure that the podcast continues to go on. So let's jump into some of the news. So first off, Turner and Hooch reboot. Disney have officially confirmed that Drake and Josh star Josh Beck is going to be starring as the lead role of U.S. Marshal Agent Scott Turner, and has been given a formal series order, which consists of 12 episodes, each about an hour long. He even took to Instagram to confirm the news. It's being created by Matt Nix, who also created the television show The Gifted, and it's been done by 20th Century Television. And according to the tagline, it says, an ambitious, buttoned-up U.S. Marshal who inherits a big, unruly dog. He soon realizes the pet he didn't want may be the partner he needs. No release date was released for when this is going to be coming to Disney Plus. But what did you think of this casting news?
I have no idea who this is. Never saw Drake and Josh. I don't know, but it's cool for the people who do know him. I think actually this might be an advantage though for the rest of us who don't go into this with preconceived notions of what to expect from this actor. So that's kind of cool. And you know, it's Turner and Hooch, so there's not much preconceived there. Except that it's probably a comedy. I mean, that's what we got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I realized I didn't know who he was. I had to look him up myself. He's changed quite a bit since he was in Drake and Josh, because he's a lot older, he's a lot skinnier, and just in general, I've just grown up. And again, I'm going in with no preconceived notions because I've got no idea who he was. And sometimes, as you said, that can kind of come to an advantage because we don't necessarily come with all that baggage. Obviously, if he's been in a TV series for years, you're comparing him to that and constantly going into this one. I love Turner and Hooch, the movie. It was one of my favorite movies growing up. It is available on Disney Plus if you haven't seen it. I'm interested to see where they go. It's good the fact we're automatically going straight into seasons for this one. There was quite an interesting article I was reading earlier this week about the fact of a lot of the streaming wars of kind of speeding up this whole like pilot stuff of like, they're not even really doing pilots, they're just going straight into season orders because everything's shorter. Is really noticing that a lot more now of like much shorter seasons, 6 to 10, 12 episodes. So they're taking less of a hit in terms of doing it. We've mentioned this a number of times before. As a Brit, I'm used to this because most of our seasons were always around that length anyway. But I think Turner and Hooch sounds really fun. I'm excited for some adult kind of orientated content on there. This one could be the one. It could be great. It's just sometimes you do kind of think, can you please do something new? Because it's like this week, it just feels like it's just reboots and sequels, and that's all it's been this week. And it's a bit like, come on, Disney, I know, and I know it myself. You put out an article about something that is a reboot, it gets so much more attention than something new, but we do need some original content. Because let's jump into some of the other bits. Hannah Montana prequel. This one's so funny. Apparently, Billy Ray Cyrus was speaking to Hollywood Life, and he said that apparently they are talking about doing a prequel, which to me he would do in a heartbeat because he gets to get his mullet back. He added, I think there's a whole story there that led up to Miley becoming Hannah Montana. Now, this again, early stages. I don't necessarily think a prequel to a Disney Channel show showing off him kind of maybe in the 70s, 80s, becoming a country rock star and all the rest of it. It is just everyone hadn't quite managed to get the work out of the concept of prequel because everyone's going, well, how can she play a younger version of herself? It's like, no, prequel before she existed. It's like, it is a Hannah Montana prequel of like, yeah, Miley Cyrus would not want to be doing this right now, but Obviously, he's quite happy to do it. He's got new music and all the rest of it out. But yeah, it's like basically set before Hannah Montana was even alive. But I was like, okay, I see where they're going with this one. This is one way of kind of keeping that franchise moving along without Miley Cyrus. And maybe she could make a cameo or something just for her dad.
Oh yeah, they could do it kind of the way they're doing with the Diary of a Future President, where you have present day, which would have Miley and whoever, and then some sort of flashback to where it's now pre Miley Cyrus or Hannah Montana. So that's one way they could do it. Don't know if they will. Don't know if they won't. I have no connection to Hannah. It came out after like I was watching. When it came out, I was like, "Oh, that's the little kids," and not just that, it was little kids, and it was a little girls show. And like, oh no, cooties, all that horrible stuff.
Well, this is the thing as well. Yeah, it's that thing as well. Of certain, a lot of this stuff that came out, like Hannah Montana, Lizzie McGuire, and all the rest of it. For us, we were already probably into our 20s, at which point had no real interest in these shows at all. I know I didn't really watch the Disney Channel during that period, so it's like. Even now, I've got zero interest in going back and watching these shows on Disney Plus. It's just not something I'm interested in. But I actually kind of like the idea of, this story would be about, a man going through basically the country star and being all that. It's like, okay, I would give this a shot because, again, feels like this is aiming at the parents or the people that used to watch it as kids that are now adults. This isn't necessarily maybe aimed at kids, but who knows how they're going to do it. But they love going back in time, bringing things in. Again, it's interesting to see. It kind of continues that whole using established things just to kind of bring people back in. But I don't know. It could work out really well. And again, I can't imagine Miley Cyrus would be involved in this in the slightest because she's done so much to try and get away from that image of what she was and try to kind of step away from that thing. But again, she's maybe more mature now where she can go, actually, no, I can do a little bit and take a bit of cash and help my dad out. And that's it.
Cash talks.
Yes.
So we'll see about that. I have no particular interest to go back and watch the Hannah Montana, as you mentioned, but depending on what angle they take with this, I don't know, it could be interesting. Almost kind of like a How I Met Your Mother, but where we already know all the characters and already know, some of the history behind it, or we being the broad general audience. So yeah, there's potential here. It is worth keeping in mind that they did specify they are talking about, which, that means any number of things.
This could be, it could be one of the things. If we're talking about it, I want it more than Disney kind of thing. So it's like, I used to talk about it. Okay, when actors and stuff come out and be quite open about like pushing it, they want to get that word out into the open sphere, see how people react, see if there's enough interest that kind of like spark the project along by Disney. There's a lot of that going on, like with Willow and stuff at the minute, of just kind of using the internet to kind of boost up a project just as much as it's gaining interest. Speaking of Disney Plus reboots, we're getting a new Disney Plus series based on the Mighty Ducks. This one feels like we've known about this one for ages, but this is like the first time it's officially been revealed. That's just the way now. We sort of know about these series months in advance, and then suddenly of like, oh, now there's an official press release. You go, well, okay. So they've confirmed that Laura Graham is going to be playing the lead role of Alex Noon, and she's going to be the mother of a kid called Brady. Brady Noon is going to be. I'm just looking here. Brady Moon is going to be playing the son Evan. Got all the names completely mixed up in the wrong order there. So this is going to be a present-day Minnesota where the Mighty Ducks have evolved from a scrappy underdogs into an ultra-competitive powerhouse youth hockey team. After 12-year-old Evan, who's played by Noon, is unceremoniously cut from the Ducks, him and his mum, Alex, aka Graham, set out to build their own ragtag team of misfits to challenge the cutthroat, win-at-all-costs culture of competitive youth sports. She'll also be doing bits and pieces like behind the scenes, and it's going to be coming out later this year. And also, they also sent out a press release just days later saying that Emilio Estevez will be returning to his role, and they put up a couple of images of him on the ice, either maybe preparing or something like that. So again, everything we pretty much know beforehand, but nice to see Laura Graham confirmed for it, and also Amelia Estevez. This is just great to kind of see this one coming up. Mighty Ducks. I do remember watching the movie when it came out because it would have been about 30, 40. I remember my brother loving it because he loved ice hockey and hockey and anything on skates. This was definitely his movie more than mine. But yeah, it's kind of interesting where they're going and kind of taking the Mighty Ducks, but almost like turning them into the bad guys rather than keeping them, because they've got lost that feeling of being the underdogs. They're now like the leaders and stuff. So I could see that. And depends how they're going to do it with Emilio. Is he going to be the coach in charge of the Mighty Ducks and he's the bad guy, or is he going to be brought out of retirement to teach the young team, which kind of feels where that one might be where they go?
I'm thinking more of the latter, because they've already done the Emilio or Coach Bombay loses his way. I mean, that was basically the theme of the second movie, or one of the themes of the second movie. I feel like it would make much more sense that he handed the reins off to somebody, and it'd be really cool if it was one of the original Ducks too, someone like Charlie or one of the people who played on the team. They lost their way, and Emilio now takes the role of the skate shop owner, the guy who Hans and his brother who help him find his way back. Now he helps, the other guys find their way back. Yeah. But we'll wait and see. It keeps getting called a reboot, but this doesn't seem like a reboot. No, the press description does make it sound it's a proper sequel. Yeah. It's an evolution of the series. The Ducks have become victims of their own success. They become the bad guys from the first movie. Honestly, even if it wasn't about hockey, I'm with your brother on this. Obviously, I'm a huge hockey fan. But even if it wasn't about hockey, I really like the way they're going with this. And it does sound like they're taking it seriously. Out of all of the announcements that we've had in the last month or so, other than stuff that's attached to the Star Wars name, this is probably the one that keeps grabbing my attention.
Yeah, I like the fact as well that we're getting it this year. Obviously, I can't imagine a lot of special effects, which obviously proves the price up. But yeah, again, this is what we need. We need these kind of drama series and stuff. I think it would have been nicer to have it a little bit earlier than we're getting it, because we've got quite a few series kind of underway. Big shot this one. I think this fall is going to be jam packed with drama. I don't think we're going to have this problem that we had with launch for like this period. But yeah, I'm fully willing to give it a go. I'm more than happy to have some new drama, and hopefully some slightly, like we say, all family can watch it. And I think that is exactly what Disney Plus needs right now. Some big drama. So it's nice to see that one officially confirmed. A new one that just broke last night was apparently there's a new movie called Sneakerella, currently in development for Disney Plus. This will be like a new modern style version of Cinderella set around street culture with sneakers. It's pretty much all we know. It's still very much in the early stages. I'll be honest, it was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like we needed another Cinderella reboot. We've already got Godmothered coming up, and then we've also got Sony working on a new version of Cinderella set in modern times. It was like, okay, that's quite a lot. Couple of other quick news bits from around the Disney. Apparently, the Aladdin sequel has been they're already starting work on that one there, but it won't be a remake of one of the animated movies, so that's kind of good. They've also confirmed that Rick Morales has closed the deal to return for Disney's Shrunk, which is a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and Josh Gad is going to be playing his son Nick, and he even went onto social media and confirmed it. So we know that that's all going through. Just a typical thing of it gets released one week, the news gets repeated, Disney then decline and say no, that's nothing, we know nothing about it. A few days later, it's then confirmed by one of the big ones. So it was one of those cycles going, okay, yeah, that it's like one of these weird things of like what goes on with press is like it's leaked, it gets out, it gets denied, it's done, and then they come out with a brand new. So the lovely things. Yeah,
it's important to remember that the vast majority of the people watching Disney, not just Disney Plus, but Disney movies in general, don't follow the news sites. They don't follow the rumors and so on. So for a lot of people, when Disney does announce it officially, Emilio Estevez will be in the Mighty Ducks. Rick Moranis will be in Shrunk. it is the first time they hear about it.
Yeah. It's just such a strange way that it goes around this whole cycle of like, you know, you can imagine they've got the whole PR deal all out when they're going to get it all out, and then it gets out early, and then all hell breaks loose, and they've got to try and fix it. And catch 22, they either can confirm it, deny it, or just stay quiet. And yeah, it's one of those things of this just keeps going on. They've also announced, there's also been lots of rumblings under the Marvel banner. So we've got quite a few things to talk about under the Marvel banner today. So first off, Marvel and Sony have got a new movie coming out, a new Spider-Man spin-off in October 2021. No details yet of what that's going to be. Again, there's this kind of weird thing going on with Sony and Marvel right now of how interconnected these new like villain movies like Morpheus, and there's potential this could be either Kraven or Black Cat or something else that they're going on the lines of. We don't really know how much they're all interconnected, or we're not going to be part of a multiverse. That might be the way that they kind of connect them through the dots. But again, the thing is with these Sony ones is like, I can't help but feel like once they've finished their deal with Stars, Disney is going to be like, can we do a deal for all of those movies to come to us? You got to believe that there's some conversations going on for that at some point.
Yeah, even if they didn't own them, the Spider-Man movies have been insanely popular.
Yeah.
All of them. And Venom did really well and all that. They want them. They want them on Disney Plus. It'd be a nice little feather in their cap.
Yeah, I can't. It's like thinking up until the Stars contract ends with Sony, I think, which is next year. But I can't help but feel like this is the thing here. The Marvel stuff is always that thing of Sony, like, it's not on Disney. It's not on Disney, but we're connected here. There's a thread of like, Spider-Man Far From Home might not be on Disney Plus, but it's still part of the interconnected web. It's not like it's the Joker or something like that. A couple of other things. Again, another rumor going around of Agents of Atlas is Atlas, yes, is set to come to Disney Plus. It's going to be like set out from the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is currently going in production. It's going to be coming out next year in cinemas. Apparently, they're filming in San Francisco, and it sets up because that's where their headquarters are. Now, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of this team until this news came out. You?
I am familiar with the comics. They've been mildly popular since, I don't know, the early 2010s, give or take around 2011, 2012. Very niche group. They are kind of golden age heroes that got brought in and modernized a bit. And it's filled with characters that probably most people have never heard of, which is fine. That's how Marvel has been working the past couple of years. It will be interesting to see how they choose to interpret them. Going back and adding in Golden Age heroes, like in between the original Captain America timeline from the 1940s and, say, Captain Marvel in the 1990s, kind of a slippery slope of getting us into that continuity entanglement that the comics have, which is not a great selling point. But we'll have to wait and see. All we know is it's coming out of Shang-Chi. And it is a known name, but even within comics, it's not a huge name. The comic lasted for quite a while, but it was more on the small but vocal fandom rather than widespread fandom.
Well, this kind of ties in a bit. First off, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is coming to an end in the next season, so that kind of finishing that one off. Apparently, the Sword Agency are being introduced in WandaVision. The thing that's kind of interesting about these Agents of Atlas is Jimmy Woo apparently runs this group, and he's already been seen in the Ant-Man movies. He's going to be in WandaVision, so they kind of could bring him in and kind of connect it up that way with the MCU. Again, it's that kind of line of, I think Disney are looking at any of their characters and any of their groups and going, are these potential series? Are these things? Obviously, if they do it as a series with very little connection with the MCU, they can Shang-Chi, or they might do it as a sequel to the movie. I don't know. We're very much in the early stages. There's so much talk about what they could do and stuff, but a whole group of superheroes sounds like a perfect Disney Plus series to kind of give us something fresh and new, and then they can interconnect them with the movies. Depends really on how Shang-Chi does. I mean, if it does really well at the box office, they might want to kind of tie it in a bit more with the movies. But yeah, it's all up in the air. But I thought, well, you might know about it. I'd never heard of any of these guys before.
To be honest, I think most people haven't heard of most of those characters, and that's not even like a hipster. We knew them before they were. No, they are literally extremely obscure characters, even within comics fandom.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Sometimes that kind of help kind of with these heroes of giving them fresh. I mean, it's like things like the Runaways and stuff. I mean, they were, and Cloak and Dagger, these were much less well known characters until they had their own TV series and stuff. But that's the joy of Disney. I mean, they've got thousands of characters within the Marvel universe to use. So it'll be interesting where they go with that one there. A couple of other bits, pieces from a lot of discussion about production dates for a lot of the Disney Plus series and stuff going forward. Apparently, Hawkeye is set to start filming in September. That one's been pushed back a little bit, with the She-Hulk series set to go into production in August. It's kind of like a lot of these are all being filmed down in Atlanta, so there's like one ends and then the next one finishes, and then they're going to be moving on. I'm kind of going through them all into, and then you've got Marvel movies being filmed in between that. I mean, it basically looks like the Atlanta studios are just being used one after another. They've just penciled in what they're filming continuously down in Atlanta with Marvel stuff, which again, they've got so much stuff to film at the minute. But apparently, I think Moon Knight is set to be filmed, a lot of it in location overseas, including the UK. But yeah, Atlanta seems to be the favorite place where they're filming everything. They're still doing some stuff for Falcon and the Winter Soldier right now down there. Looks like WandaVision. I think that by the looks of it, most of that might be wrapped up already. But yeah, it's just good to kind of see all this coming on. Again, they were kind of lining up everything going on, and I think it's good that Hawkeye continues. It's been pushed back a little bit in terms of when they're filming it. They're still planning on it for next year. The only thing is, I think the actress that they wanted from Bumblebee, I think it's Haley. There's still that iffing bit of whether or not she can do this series because of Apple TV Plus. They've not announced anything, so they could change the direction very easily on this one. But I would expect not to hear much on all these Marvel shows, probably till San Diego Comic-Con, when they kind of really lay this one out a lot.
And even the shows that we're talking about right now, I really wouldn't expect to hear very much at San Diego or any of the shows around that time, New York, because they're going to be wanting to lay into the stuff that's right about to come out at that time. You know, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision. So Hawkeye, She-Hulk, Agents of Atlas, Moon Knight, all the other rumored shows or vaguely confirmed shows. They might drop some stuff, logos, pictures, cast
Actors.
announcements, stuff like that. But that'll be about the extent of it. Everything around that time is going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes most sense because they're going to want to sell the Disney Plus subscriptions for this winter. But there again, they've made, they've got all these different series all under production. Loki as well. They've added an actress. Now I'm going to probably completely mispronounce this one. Yeah. I'm not even going to. I can't even. She starred in a number of different things. Gugu Mbatha Raw. I'm probably butchered that to pieces, and I am sorry, but she's apparently been cast as one of the leads in the new Loki series. She's appeared in a number of different stuff in the past, including A Wrinkle in Time and also Beauty and the Beast. So it's all kind of all interconnecting, and I think we're really going to start to see things ramping up for Disney Plus on the Marvel side once we get sort of past the summer. And there'll probably just be this constant string of series and stuff dropping in, because it doesn't necessarily, we probably start getting season 2s and season 3s of these shows as well, dropping in the middle of all of that and just kind of keeping the rotation coming in. And then which point then we're probably going to end up with the Defenders and all kinds of bits and pieces dropping in after that. But lots of stuff on that on there. But let's jump into kind of the feature topic really, was the Secret Invasion. There's a lot of talk as well about the idea of doing a Secret Invasion series interconnected with Captain Marvel 2 and the Inhumans. And I thought, well, this kind of, I do remember this comic book because this is actually a comic book series I even own in comic books. I remember buying them and it really kind of captured my attention with this series. This, in the comic books, the Secret Invasion is the Skrulls have infiltrated lots of people within the government because of their shape-shifting. They've also managed to infiltrate like the Avengers and become characters within there. And So what the whole thing is suddenly then we start realizing that some of the heroes we think are heroes are actually Skrulls in disguise. And there's a kind of whole thing of like, I think, is it She-Hulk, or there's a few heroes that get revealed to be Skrulls, and they've been kidnapped and put on somewhere else. And essentially it kind of means everything they've been doing in the past suddenly is not them anymore. And I'm there going, okay. And then it's like, that makes so much. If you look at what happened at the end of Far From Home with the Skrulls kind of making them look like Nick Fury and they've already started setting all of this up already. They're like, oh, this is future plans. Like, no, they've already started this. I mean, that's why I remember when that happened in Spider-Man Far From Home, I instantly knew where that storyline was going because I've read the comic books. But what do you think of this idea?
Yeah, they've actually been setting this up for a long time. I remember when Captain Marvel was first announced, they were like, oh, it's setting up Secret Invasion. And at the time, and now, I just completely rolled my eyes at it because I absolutely hate that storyline. There's decent potential in it, especially with it not attached to a lot of the baggage that the comics had to deal with. Because Secret Invasion really was a reset comic. It was, we've killed a whole bunch of characters. We've kind of had a lot of characters acting out of character. Let's fix it by saying they were all Skrulls. And yep, the real ones are back now. Don't worry about it. Don't think too hard about it. Basic idea was okay. The execution was awful. And even then, if you go back to the old Diz Kingdoms when we were talking about the rumors of Captain Marvel and the Secret Invasion, I was like, I don't want this. I don't want this at all. I will say, though, I feel very strongly the same way about the comic series, The Civil War, both Civil War 1 and 2, but the one that the movie was based on. And the movie was infinitely superior to the comic series. Yeah, I am willing to give Marvel Cinematic the benefit of the doubt. They have definitely earned that over the past 10 years. But that said, if you want me to go back and talk about the Secret Invasion comics, I don't have nice things to say about this.
The thing is, as well, is like in the MCU, it doesn't really. It's like they've killed off, Iron Man. It's like, well, they can't bring him back in the same way because it wouldn't make any sense. Quicksilver was way too far in the past to do that. And then you've also got Hyman Nike or something like that. Again, he would have been nowhere near the Skrulls. So it's like the main ones they've killed off have so far away from the series and stuff. So I don't know. I think this makes a lot more sense, but they're gonna have to keep building towards it. And to me, it feels like the Secret Invasion is more of a epic, bring them all together movie. Well, that's what it feels like it's building towards, rather than a Disney Plus series. But again, they could use the Secret Invasion series as a way of setting up to what's happening in the movies or do something with it. Also, the main guy that we've seen in Captain Marvel, and I've completely forgotten his name, we've been watching him in a show recently, and, he's doing TV. So it wouldn't surprise... Yeah, that's the guy, yeah. I just need to look at what TV series is something we've been watching on. We're doing a murder hunt or something like that. Ben, yeah. Because to me, he's always just... here we go. I'm Kendrick, from Star Wars. That's the only thing I'd never seen it. Yeah, I'd never seen him from that. I've seen him in that one there. So I'm just looking here at what series he's been in, because I don't know if is it The Outsider that looks. The Outsider. I think it's something. It was a HBO series that's just started. So we've been watching this one here, and so automatically then they're going, yeah, TV. He's doing a big TV series for HBO right now. He is more than likely to be able to be signed up to do a TV series for Disney Plus.
Yeah, and he's a fine actor. I liked him as Director Krennic. I liked him as Talos in Captain Marvel. He did a number of movies around the same time. He was in Dark Knight Rises. That was obviously before. He was in Ready Player One. Not a movie I really liked all that much, but I did like him in it. He played a very good scene-chewing villain in that. So I have tremendous respect for him as an actor. I would love it. It would add a lot of credibility to this rumored show or special, or however you want to think of it at the moment, to have him involved with it. And it would raise, personally, my expectations of it. I just feel like a minute like this feels like such a nice fit
Because all the bits and pieces are building up, or even maybe not necessarily a secret invasion, they might call it something different, but just kind of showing off the scrolls and then maybe setting up where that's going. Maybe them starting to infiltrate, that kind of thing, of maybe they start, because at the minute we've seen them on the good side, but there's obviously going to be ones doing something different. But yeah, I think there's a lot going on with this one, but this whole scroll thing is going to make everyone start, it's like, well, is that person that one, or is it? So you start second guessing, which is what they want. They want that whole idea, and then they can turn around at any given point, kill one of them off, and then it turns out he's a scroll, and then you go, oh no.
As long as
yeah,
as long as they do it in a way that makes sense. That there'll absolutely be a couple of like gotcha moments where the person who you thought was a human is actually a Skrull. But as long as they don't rely on that too much to be like, oh, this character, especially if they do, this character that we've had from the first episode or the first movie, there's a character in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like, now that one character who we've known throughout is suddenly an evil Skrull or something like that. It'd be like, not so much. It will be interesting to see how they do this, though, because so far they've kind of gone out of their way to make the Skrulls the victims in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, we saw that in Captain Marvel. They're in a much better place once we get to Far From Home, and we don't know what their current political situation is. But it will be interesting to see if they choose to reverse that and the Skrulls do end up being the bad guy, if it's like a religious faction that breaks off or political faction, or if it just ends up being, the Skrulls aren't bad people. They were in a bad place, and now we're going to go hunt the Kree for a while or something. Who knows? Yeah.
I mean, they could be setting this up for years to come, but there's always going to be that thing going forward, because I can't help but feel that they're going to use the Skrulls as a way of fixing the Spider-Man issue with the Peter Parker. It's a perfect way of setting up the fact that they can fix the fact that Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire, or not Tobey Maguire, but and Peter Parker are in the same place at the same time with a Skrull. They fixed the whole problem. That's because that happened in the books, wasn't it? Of just like, you put them in the same place at the so many times.
So many books, so many different stories, not just Spider-Man. I think Iron Man, Batman, Superman, all of them have done the double. Heck, I think it was in the Supergirl TV show where there's like, Kara and Supergirl can't be the same because this shapeshifter is totally pretending to be Kara right now.
Yeah.
It's all in how it's executed. If they execute it, fine, cool, whatever, we'll go with it. If it's just a gotcha moment or we don't know how to fix this, so oops, Talos is now pretending to be Captain Marvel right over here. Don't think too hard about it. That's not quite as good.
No, it's definitely a thing going forward. Okay, let's now move on to kind of what we've been watching, because this past week we've seen a couple of new things added on to Disney Plus, some new movies. We've seen like Splash, Cheaper by the Dozen. Now, the interesting thing with Cheaper by the Dozen, it came online hours after everything else, and also My Dog the Thief as well. I mean, that one there was a couple of it took hours for these shows to get added, maybe like 12, 15 hours after everything else. So kind of one of those things of like, I put out a video yesterday going, it's not on there, but it might be added tomorrow. And literally by the time the video was processed and published, so people would start messaging, it's up there now. It's like, oh, great. There was one guy, he messaged me going, where's Cheaper by the Dozen? I replied back an hour later going, it's up there now. And it literally was just like, you couldn't have made that up. It was just like, okay, yeah. So sometimes there is that issue of things kind of can take a little bit longer than we maybe like. We did get the brand new series of Disney's Fairy Tale Weddings. So that's come back now as it was a freeform series from a couple of years ago. They brought that one in as a Disney Plus series. I think perfect fit for Disney. Did you watch that episode?
I did. I watched that episode. It was one of the few Disney things I watched. I also did some National Geographic documentaries. Yeah. I'll throw them out there real fast before we talk about Fairy Tale Weddings. Kingdom of the White Wolf, Kingdom of the Blue Whale, and Life Below Zero. All of them worth watching. All of them are great. High recommendations for all of them.
I need to start watching that Life Below Zero because there's like 14, 15 seasons of it. There's a lot of stuff on there that I'm going to be honest, this is the big thing for me personally. When Disney Plus launches in the UK in about 5 weeks' time, of when I can just turn my TV on and watch it properly rather than through other means, through cabling, through other boxes, and it's just a big faff when I can just sit there and be like everybody else and just watch it easily. At the minute, it's all a bit messy, but I'm rather sitting there watching things on my iPad, and I don't really like. There's that kind of thing. If I watch stuff on my iPad, but I do much prefer watching things on the big screen, and being able to put things on in the background. When I'm watching something like Diary of a Future President, it's fine on a little screen, doesn't really matter. But for things like that, I'm kind of like, there's a low number of things like The Runaways. I'm like, right, I'm going to watch that one properly. But yeah, so
it's funny you say that, because the Fairy Tale Weddings was definitely on my tablet while I was doing work. I did not give it my 100% full attention. But why don't we go ahead and start talking about that one?
I thought it was really good. It looks like it's had about 5 to 6, 7 minutes trimmed off from the Freeform episodes, which I think is good, because what Disney Plus is allowing is flexibility in terms of how long an episode is. It's not quite. You've got to fit it into an hour, and we've got to have 14 minutes of adverts and all the rest of it. So therefore, we can fit it into one. I think the editing as well. They're editing it to be one episode. They're not cutting. They know they're not cutting it. They know they're not editing it. They don't have to keep doing the recaps when it comes back from a commercial. And it just felt like it flowed better. Having watched some of the episodes from the first season, it was like, it just flowed so much. Because I think it's one of those things, especially when you watch American like series like that, where you don't have the adverts. You see it on Netflix all the time of like, and now we're going to do a recap. It's like, yeah, but I've only 10 minutes into the show. I don't need a recap. But obviously when the trailers and the adverts and all the rest of it, half an hour has gone by, and at the past the hour, new people are coming in, so they have to recap them up. It's like, this one didn't need that. It just got to the meat of it. No time spent going backwards. And I think it just helped the flow of the episode. I thought that worked very well.
Yeah, I can't speak to season 1. I did not watch any of the old episodes on it, but I do know what you're talking about from shows like House Hunters and things like that, where they build up a very similar story, and it's and you get halfway through and they're like, we're joining Julie and Bob as they look at these $3.5 million mansions, and like, oh yeah, the thing I've been watching for the last 20 minutes. But those are clearly not made for streaming audiences. This was, and it is better for it. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's definitely good. It looks beautiful, the way they make the park and the resorts look. You've got to get away from the fact that these are glorified adverts for Disney's wedding system. They run weddings at the parks and at the resorts. There's a massive business for this. They've got special teams. I even had emails coming in about the weddings collection. They've got wedding dresses. They've got the whole process of how they do all of this. It's all part of that, and it is very much a glorified advert for that. They never get into any of the details about pricing. They never go into how this has been paid, who's paid for it. As well of like in this episode, right? You've just brought an entire marching band from Idaho over to Disneyland. Personally, for me, I'm more used to the fact that our television has to be a bit more open about this. They have to say along the lines of, well, this has been paid for, or we've done this. This show, I don't know if it's different with the US laws, maybe not quite have to be quite as transparent about it, because they're going, well, how much is this wedding costing? Because there's never any mention of price, and who's paying for it. Because I just sometimes feel like they're setting people up for disappointment, because maybe when they look at all this stuff and then they go off to, because I've gone through wedding planning and I've gone through all this stuff, and of like when you go and look into it and suddenly go, oh my god, look at these prices, but I wanted that, and then you get into that whole pressured selling. And I don't know, it's as someone that's gone through a wedding, I look at this maybe slightly different of going, of the expectations of youngsters and younger people going through this, looking at this as an option, and then realizing just how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, I think it is a bit different here in the States, because we do have more shows of this style where it's very clearly meant to be an extravagance rather than practical. like I mentioned House Hunters before. Sure, they have plenty of shows where it's just about regular everyday families, but they have like the really rich ones. They have the international ones. They're like, this is our third home. We're looking in the Caymans. We want something with it. And I think a lot of American viewers are used to watching that. And while there's certainly a longing to be like, well, yes, I would like a Cayman's Island, getaway house. We do understand that's probably not going to happen. And I think when you watch something like this, you go, we're not going to get the OSU marching band to walk down the aisle for us or something like that. I will grant you there are definitely some people who are going to watch this and go, that is the wedding I want. No cost, and it's probably people who can't afford it. To be fair, for a lot of those people, they were probably going to have massively extravagant weddings anywhere they're going to try to. I totally get where you're coming from, and I agree. Like, this is definitely a cultural thing, European versus American. But I don't think too many people in America will really have their expectations skewed by this, at least not massively. And I think most people who are familiar with Disney are also going, yeah, that's expensive. Even by wedding standards, that's expensive.
Well, I think it's like, they're like, oh, right, we're all going to a loony, and it's like, I priced up me and my wife going to a loony
Aluwani.
next Halani, or however you want to pronounce it. I'm just reading it, little like words and putting the words together, and they're going, it's like, it was ridiculous price. Like 2 weeks in that resort, or even a week. I think it was just a week. We could have had a 2 week all-inclusive resort in like Mexico or in the Caribbean for half the price, and that was all-inclusive just for a room only. So I know when I've priced it up, and I literally was like, I'd love to go, darling, but this is like ridiculous price. And they go, oh yeah, we're all going to a loony for and we're all going to just have it. It's like, whoa, hold on a minute. It's like, I'm there going, that's like, it's like £40,000 just gone on just staying there, let alone of like just a last minute, oh, we're all going to go down there for his party. It's like, no, you don't just do that. It's just like, especially if it's like, there wasn't even a thing, oh, well, we've won this. It's like, oh yeah, we were mentioning about it, we're going to go down there. It's like, whoa, hold on a minute. It's like, you're all kids at university. It's like, you've got no money to go to a
to be fair, they don't exactly present the family that you're talking about as not being affluent. It's more than, even if this was entirely paid for by Disney, and I suspect a large portion of it was, this is a family that is used to being able to do things like this. So you're not talking about, people who are struggling to get their paychecks, paycheck to paycheck. These are people who are used to, you know what? Let's spend a weekend in Hawaii. It's only a 10-hour flight away. We can do that whenever we want. I think that was the thing. I think the first episode of like knowing how, looking at the prices of the rooms and stuff there, I was a bit like, whoa, hold on a minute. It was just like, I don't know how much a wedding costs to put on at Disneyland, and I'm like going, I know it's expensive, but I was just like, hold on a minute. It's like, you've all just, I like the whole thing of like doing the proposal. I mean, I must be honest, they did the proposal, and I was welling up. I was like, oh, that's so cute. It's like, oh, it's like, and then after, it's like the way they edited it, that was such a, like, there's been like half an hour to an hour between when we saw the two of them meet up, because you had to get all that gear off of. It's like, have you ever done that? I think there's a pool like this that used to be at Typhoon Lagoon, where they were like, you have to go in there and you can only swim forwards, and you're not allowed to. And he was obviously, and she was like, oh, remember to swim forward. And I'm going, it was like one of the most uncomfortable swimming experiences in my life, was because you're not allowed to move because I've got all these rules in place. And I'm going, you see how excited she is, and how like she's like, and I'm like, this in their heads it sounded a lot better than that was. But it was so lovely. I was like, oh, that's lovely. I have to admit, it was very. I really liked it. I did think it was a little bit awkward when they're like, okay, your boyfriend's over here. You have totally figured out what's going to happen now. But, okay, go change into your bathing suit. put some free diver gear on. Here's a life vest. Just be careful. And it's just like, you're kind of spoiling the moment right now. But
yeah, because I was expecting kind of that thing of like him to do and like maybe like not even give her a head. Like, oh, your partner there, we're gonna go meet him. And I'm like, wow, they really did kind of set that up way in advance so that she knows something's going on. It wasn't like he just turned up and did it, which I was expecting. I mean, it was lovely the way they did it, but it would have been a bit more nice had they all just gone in the water anyway, and then he was there. It was, but that was my one thing with this one going, especially being a qualified scuba diver, knowing how much I was like of that thing of going, yeah, that was not easy for him to get up and just do stuff and move along, and he's just been plomped underneath with these signs. But I think because I've done a pool like that and I'm a diver, and I thought that's such a lovely thing, really done really nicely. It was really done well, and I'm liking the fact as well that they do things like the proposals, and they do there's renew vows and there's all these different things rather than just purely focusing on weddings. Because I actually think proposals are one of the things that a lot of people do at Disney, but it's actually one of those things it's much more affordable and doable. When someone stands in front of the castle, then goes down on one knee and they do the whole thing there. That is a Disney kind of thing that people can do so easy and so much cheaper than all this extravagance of, having Justin Timberlake fly in on a bungee jump off of a helicopter straight into, there's this kind of thing of like, there's a complete element. Yeah. It's all about the entertainment and how they package it and all the rest of it. I mean, even just the way of like, they do the garden at Disneyland of like all the way they set it up, it just looks beautiful. The way they film it just makes everything sparkle. It's like, like they've literally had the mice and the birds flying around cleaning the place before they start filming, because it just looks stunning how they film it.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic place to do it, and I would say that even for people who aren't like huge Disney fans, just the Magic Kingdom is kind of a picturesque. It's almost cliche in a way, but not in a bad way.
Yeah,
like I don't think anyone would ever go, "Oh, you proposed in front of the castle." What
there was one this week that went viral.
Oh, was there really?
There was this one that they stopped by the sign outside on the highway and got out and did it there.
Okay, that's tacky.
And it was like, because they like blanked out their faces, because obviously the signs there telling you do not stop here to take photographs. And they just did it on literally in the middle of the highway. And you're just like going, oh, guys, I know what you're thinking, but that was not the best location. You're not supposed to stop there. It's like, you should do it in the place. Don't do it in the car.
Granted, the Magic Kingdom is expensive, or all of them are expensive. But I've mentioned it on the podcast before. My, at the time, future brother-in-law proposed to my sister in the Magic Kingdom right after the fireworks show. So there's definitely something that the people at Disney, the photographers and whatnot, they're used to it. They probably see it quite often. And even though it is something that probably happens all the time, I can't fault any of them for doing it. Yeah, please don't do it by the side of the highway. I don't know.
But again, I feel like this series is such a nice extravagance. It's a feel-good movie, a feel-good series. It's just very good. It's just a very upbeat story. I mean, they kind of bring a little bit up of like what trials they've gone through and how much they love each other, and the family are all there and supporting and all the rest of it. And it's a very feel-good series, and you can't what you're getting with this one. It's a super fluffy Disney wedding or proposal or something like that. That is what you're getting. And that's just, you're getting a super leveled up because the cameras are on them. I do find it quite weird with these two presenters of like, they're in these people come in behind them. I'll be honest, if they did that to me, I'd be like, who are you? Hello? I wouldn't have a clue who they were.
I have to, I had no idea who either of those people were, but I have to assume that it wasn't just like, oh, here's two people who are going to officiate this wedding or what have you. They corresponded for quite some time. They knew who these people were in advance, and thus would have been like, oh, you're the person who we've been talking. And then they, of course, spiced it up a bit for television. Whenever you're watching a show like this, always keep in mind that what you're seeing recorded almost certainly happened before the recording, and now they're kind of recreating it or with the one exception being them hiding the guy who was going to do the proposal, because I do think that he had, or sorry, that the woman had no idea that that was coming.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at this guy called Twitch. He's been on So You Think You Can Dance. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and he was
I'm sure they're legitimately
I'm
celebrities. They're not just two random Disney employees that they picked up. I'm just
looking here because he's done So You Think You Can Dance. He's done, like, he's been on Ellen's show. He was in Magic Mike XL.
Okay, that's probably not one of the ones you want to advertise.
Allison, she also was on Dancing with the Stars. It looks like she was. Yeah.
I have to admit, when they named her at first, it was like Allison from Disney Infinity. That no, not that one.
No, she was and that's just one of the professional. She was one of the. Looking at, she's actually one of the dancers on the 19th season of Dancing with the Stars.
19th season. Wow.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because I've been watching. Because
wasn't at her. That was there are 19 seasons. I didn't realize there'd been that many.
Yeah, well, the thing is, here in the UK, we have Strictly Come Dancing, which is what you guys based it on. So we have our own entirely British version of the show with Bruno, and Len used to do it as well. So you kind of copied our show. So for me, obviously, we have the UK version. So I've never watched Dancing with the Stars, because we have our own version that we watch every week in the winter.
No, but we would never steal a British show like Britain's Got Talent or The X Factor or any of that. Never.
The Office.
Would never do that. No, we would certainly never steal The Office. What are you talking about?
No, but it's so there we go. I again, this is sometimes of where I'd like You Think You Can Dance. I think they even did a UK version of that over here. So some of those things sometimes be honest, I didn't know them as presenters, but it was just about they turned around and go, "Hi!" It's like, okay, who are you? It was
a much bigger thing for me when Mickey showed up behind. I was like, oh, I know who that is.
But I find, again, it's just a really nice series, and I think this is good as well because it's an adult-based series. This is not for kids.
It's not explicitly not for kids. It's just kids probably won't be interested in it all that much.
Yeah.
Well, I just think, no, that's, judging by my sisters, when we were younger, tweens or whatever, when they were tweens, I could actually see them being interested in this kind of thing too, especially my middle sister, the one who got who got engaged at Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely teenagers would be interested in it, but it's not set up like a kid show, and I think that's exactly what Disney Plus needs. I think launching it on Valentine's Day. Overall, I think I'm really enjoying it. I will watch this each week. This will be a standard thing to watch. I think, again, we're looking at it going, it's like, well, what's going on here? But that's because we're adults looking at it from things. But still didn't take away from the fact we both enjoyed the show.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, and I am not at all the target audience for this. I am not married, have no near future prospects of getting married, so like wedding planning is not anywhere in my head at all. But it was just fun, feel good fluff, and sometimes it's and granted, it's Valentine's Day, or it was Valentine's Day when this popped out. But you know what? There's never a wrong time to just kind of be like, it's nice to see two people in love experiencing some great magical moment.
And it's kind of quite nice, really. I feel like February's where the whole like Disney Plus is like shifting from like launch zone, whereas like like in 2 weeks' time, we're suddenly going to be having like Shop Class, Clone Wars, Fairy Tale Weddings, and like the whole of the launch lineup is gone now because we've only got a couple more episodes of Marvel Hero Project, and like suddenly now each Friday is a completely different Friday from like 3 months ago, and I kind of quite like how we're evolving into this like a new series. I'm probably going to get some new stuff dropping in March, hopefully. But it's kind of quite nice now, suddenly feeling like we've got all fresh, all different each. Because the last few weeks of going there on a Friday, going, there's nothing on. I will be honest, I did actually watch I'm completely caught up on Diary of a Future President. I've done all 4 episodes of this week. So I watched episode 5 last night as well, the new one. So I'm completely caught up on Diary of a Future President. It has slightly grown on me during the week. There's still a few times when, there's still period talk and all this stuff going on, and it's what you'd expect. But it's kind of eased off. It doesn't seem to be maybe quite as. I think that first episode was a little bit like punched maybe a little bit harder than the rest of them did. There's a little bit more, everything's a bit more toned down in the next episodes. I'll be honest, I've not seen the president in the last 4 episodes, so I'm guessing she doesn't turn up until the last scene of the last episode, because she's not even at the beginning or the end of each episode setting it up. Now she's long gone. It's like, which I was like, well, that was kind of one of the things I was more interested in, but there's none of that on there. The series kind of keeps moving on. The whole thing with them dating and the reactions, that was a good episode, but that's kind of been all forgotten now. Now he's just in as a stepdad, and it's all good. There's doing something with the brother, of him being, ashamed of his name, and then he's not ashamed of his name. There's this whole weird thing of him with his girlfriend, with getting stuck in a cupboard, kissing, and he didn't like it. So I don't know if they're setting up with him maybe being gay, or I don't know. It's just like this whole thing of he came out and they were like, "Did you enjoy it?" It was like he didn't, and it was
so
like,
you're saying he was literally in a cupboard, which would also be called a closet.
Yeah. Yes, but he was in there. He was in there with his girlfriend, and it was just, I don't know. It was just maybe me, like the way he came out and said something. It was like, I wonder if that's what I could be completely wrong, but it would, to me, it would feel like maybe the natural progression for the show to kind of do that, because that would give them a new way. But I could be completely misreading that situation, or he just didn't know what he was doing.
See,
he didn't do that. He didn't know what he was doing beforehand, but he just came out, instead of being like, he was just like, okay.
So if it was real life, I would probably just attribute it to, you're a kid, you don't know what you're doing. She didn't know what she was doing. That's probably what it is. But this is storytelling. It's probably Chekhov's gun, which means they're setting up that he is probably gay. I haven't seen the episode. I only have what you're describing it as, but that absolutely sounds like a Chekhov's gun scenario.
Because she literally grabbed his hand and dragged him into the closet. So
that makes it sound even more like one.
Yeah, it was definitely. I've softened up on this series. I'll finish off the series. I think that first episode was a little bit. It went a little bit too hard on it, and it's quite funny. I've listened to quite a few people's opinions on the show, and a lot of us adults all felt the same way, of like the very forced of what they were doing. It seems to have toned down a little bit on episodes afterwards, of they're not quite going in as heavy-handed as they were, which I think was needed, because it was a little bit pushy in that first episode. But like I said, if I thought, well, no, I'm going to give it another go, and it was pouring down with rain at work, and I just put it on the tablet next to me while I was doing my accountancy, and just thought, I'm just going to let these episodes just roll on, and it was like, oh, okay, this is kind of improving on. And then last night, okay, after Fairy Tale Weddings, I popped on the 5th episode. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll wait till next week and watch that. So I'm in it now, but it's definitely not like High School Musical territory. But it's definitely, if you didn't like that first episode, maybe give the second episode a go and go in it. But it is kind of more of the same. But I thought I'd at least mention that I am at least carrying on with that one.
Yep, and even with that, I'm not gonna carry on with that one. Obviously, I watched the first episode. That's fine. It's just, for me, I have much more limited time between the shows coming out and when we record. I have Friday, and I work Friday, so that chops 8 hours right out of the middle. So I really have to pick what I'm going to watch to discuss. Now, I could go and watch them through the rest of the week, but by that time also we come to Friday, and like, I watched it on Monday, I don't remember anything.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, usually for me, because obviously Fridays were off, but usually a lot of these shows I don't watch until later, until usually I put them on while I'm maybe like editing the news video for the day, or do it, because they're all usually like half an hour shorts. If they're movies, I usually I'll sit there with my wife and we'll watch them in the afternoon. But it's that kind of thing of, Fridays I've got usually much of the more of the day to kind of watch a few of them and pick some of them out. Next week will be a little bit more interesting, because then we've got Clone Wars. Starts on Friday next week, which is the series I'm really interested to see. But again, it's only going to be about 20-25 minutes. But yeah, looking forward to that. And it's interesting going into this one because now I have seen all of the previous episodes, and it really helped me with the Mandalorian, and it's helped me with picking things. So I am really looking forward to Clone Wars to see where they go with it, because I missed this whole thing in the past of the episodes dropping and all the rest of it. So it'd be nice to kind of be in with everybody else watching these as we're going along. But so that'll definitely be next week's episode. So that pretty much wraps up all of this week's stuff. So make sure you do check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Again, we've got that giveaway going on right now. Again, big thank you to our Patreons. Go hit that subscribe button, and we shall see you guys in another video. Laters.